Thank you for listening to this episode of What You Don't Know About Sports. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please leave us a review, 5 stars only please, and hit that subscribe button wherever you listen. If you have a great sports story, we want to hear about it. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WYDKAS Podcast, and on our YouTube channel at What You Don't Know About Sports Podcast. All episodes are written, recorded, and edited by us. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Welcome to What You Don't Know About Sports, where we delve into the forgotten stories, teams, and athletes of sports history and question widely held takes on today's sports. I'm Matt, and this is Blake.
Howdy.
In part one of our story, we looked at the 05-06 season for the Barton College Bulldogs, which unfortunately ended in a little bit of heartache. But as we said, the story is not over yet. Blake, are you ready for part two?
We're always ready.
Yeah, we are. We are ready to go. So, in 06-07, they come in naturally. They've only lost one player of significance, a senior named Casey Moore, who was one of the starters, one of the big scorers on the team. He's the only guy they lost. So they come in nationally top 10. Some books, some publications have them like number 2 behind Winona, who's also bringing back a bunch of firepower as well. Naturally, they're picked to be the CVAC champions again, and some things look great. They go to NC Central to play in the BC Powder Classic, and in their first 2 games of the season, they need overtime to win and get it done both times. So 2-0 start, both overtime games. Things are shaky, but good. Game 3 of that season is going to be a loss to host NC Central, but that's NC Central's usually good. That's not a big loss. You're playing on the road, 3rd game in a quick turnaround. Everything's fine. They win a few more conference games to start that part of the season, and then our senior, Alejo Baravero, one of the key members of some of those comebacks the year before, all conference the year before, broke his finger and has surgery, and initially was going to take a medical red shirt. He's presumed to be done for the season. So that's a big blow, a lot of scoring, a lot of defense. He's a tall guy, a swing man out on the wing, that kind of versatile kind of scorer, somebody you need to make a tournament run, and he's gone for the year now.
Man, that had to hurt. Like knowing how much he did as a junior, and now he's a senior leader on the team. Ooh, gosh, that's so hard. But of course, like, you take the red shirt, you possibly get to play again. You're presumed done for the season, though, right? I assume you said presumed done for the season on purpose.
Presumed. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They lose their next game to Chowan. Blowing 2 double-digit leads. Not one, but 2 double-digit leads. They are reverse Bartoning at this point, just giving up big leads. They lose a doubleheader to Catawba, and then lose another game. It was a doubleheader, Catawba, and then Lenoir Ryan back to back. The second of those games, they lose by 34 points. The team is sitting 5-4, which is no man's land in D2. Like, you are not in position to do anything at 5-4 in D2 basketball. Doesn't matter who you played, you're in tough shape.
That sounds like I'm getting heartburn from just imagining this happening today to a team that I cared about, and it happened 14 years ago. I can't even imagine what it felt like to be there and like know this is happening real time.
I've got a feeling what it felt like, because I've been in some of these situations before, not in athletics, but the Wilson Times reported on it. It's in a Vice article as well that was written about later. They had a come to Jesus meeting after that game. Like, all hands on deck. Like, we're all going to say what we're thinking and what we're feeling right now, because this is not working. It's falling apart. We got to do something different. To their credit, they rebound from that moment with back-to-back wins. One of them is against number 11 Pfeiffer, in which they win 122-97.
Jeez.
Now, that sounds like a high score, But I got to tell you, Pfeiffer plays the weirdest game of basketball ever, in which it's kind of like the Nolan Richardson 40 minutes of hell like type thing. They press you, they run, that's all they do. And when it's time for subs, it's like a line change. It's 5 dudes in, 5 dudes out every time. 5 dudes in, 5 dudes out. So it's grueling to play against them, and that's where you get 122 points from.
Just imagine scoring 97 points and losing by 25. Like, that's stupid.
How'd you do today? Scored 97. Why are you so sad? Lost by 25. You scored almost 100 points and lost by 25%. That's bad. Oh, man. They're going to take over first place in the CVAC with another win over Queens in early January. Things are starting to look good. They play a game against Mount Olive where they come back from a 9-point second half deficit because it's Mount Olive and they're just not going to win. Sorry. Like, why even show up? That game goes to OT as well. If you're keeping track at home, and you should be, that's OT game number 3, third straight win. They're already up to 5th in the East. So they were 5-4. They're 5th in the East by the time they go to Limestone in January, coming off the heels of that big Mount Olive comeback, and they lose.
Of course.
They lose. Letdown game, typical letdown game, stereotype right there. They come back and beat Showan in February for their 4th overtime win of the season. 3 days later, they play at Anderson in South Carolina. They trail by 7 with 4 minutes and 41 seconds left and go on a 9-2 run to send the game to overtime, which they eventually win in double overtime. 2 days later is Spirit Night against Mount Olive, the return game. Everybody's there. Everybody's amped up. We got a bunch of Mount Olive fans in the crowd, a lot of competing chants, a lot of hostility. Everybody's a little upset with one another. And the game, they're up 18 points in the second half. What happens? We go to overtime. Mount Olive comes storming back, but they hold on in overtime, pull away, and get the win. If you're keeping track at home, we've now made it to 7 overtime games. Am I counting that correctly? I think so. I am. 6. It's 6. That was our 6th overtime game. Sorry. You should be keeping count at home because apparently I can't.
Because we can't.
So the 6th overtime game, it is their 3rd straight overtime game. Now, the big moment of this game is that Anthony Atkinson hit an 80-foot, that's 3/4 court, shot at the buzzer to send the game to halftime. That shot would appear on ESPN as part of the plays of the week, at which point it was kind of a perfect storm, right? So it was a little school that hit a big shot, so that's cool. But also they'd played 3 straight overtime games, so that made it into the story as well. And if you thought that was good, just wait, because there's more. They go back to Queens looking to clinch a share of the conference crown. It's a back-and-forth game, and it goes to overtime.
What in the world?
Queens sinks 2 free throws with 2 seconds left to send it to overtime. In overtime, Barton pulls away. 2 things of note here. Alejo Barovero is back.
Ooh.
He has healed his finger. He had decided that he was ready to go back home to Argentina where he played professionally. So a good choice on his part. So he burned that medical red shirt and he came back. Was 14 of 14 from the free throw line, netting a total of 16 points. He decided to burn the red shirt that afternoon in Charlotte at Queens.
That's
awesome. All right, we're doing it.
Yep, let's do it.
The second thing is this has already now become a team for the history books. The first team ever to play 4 straight overtime games. The first team ever to win 4 straight overtime games. The 6th win in overtime, this would be the 7th win in overtime now, ties the record for most overtime games and most overtime wins in all division NCAA history. And they're the first team to win 5 overtime games on the road in a single season.
Just winning one overtime game on the road is tough. Winning 5 road games is tough in conference. Winning 5 overtime games on the road. They haven't lost an overtime game yet this season, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's actually unbelievable. And we're not even to the good part.
And if you're a fan of foreshadowing, when did they lose to Winona State? In overtime.
Ooh.
So to get to the finish line of that season, they get 2 more blowout wins. They get a revenge win against Limestone. Not a blowout, but a revenge win. At senior night, Barton's coach Ron Levency achieved his 200th win at Barton College. Anthony Atkinson's proposing to his girlfriend after the game. Everything's looking up again. They started the season 5-4, finished the season on a 17-1 streak, winning their last 12 games in a row in the regular season, clawing all the way back to number 21 nationally, but number 2 in the East, heading into conference tournament time. In the first round, things go well. Get a win, nice easy win. In the semifinals, they're meeting Limestone, the team that gave them trouble already. That's the only team in conference that's beaten them. They trail at the half, and they trail by as many as 12 points with just over 12 minutes to go because it's a tournament game. Why would Barton be leading in a tournament game? What even good does that do? They're trailing by as many as 12 with 12 minutes remaining, and they go on a 16-2 run, sparked by Baravero and sophomore, who is, by the way, I forgot to mention this, CVAC Rookie of the Year prior, Bobby Buffalo. That's still not enough to get the game won, and it goes to, anybody want to take a guess?
Overtime.
The win in overtime made them the first team in NCAA. Actually, the going to overtime made them the first team in NCAA history to go to 8 overtimes in a season. They're obviously the first team to win 8 overtime games in a single season. For Mount Olive, the news gets sadder again because Barton is going to defeat them again.
Made a smackdown.
This time it was no question. Just went on a big run to win, and they're going to go to the East region again, and they're going to host again. Number 1 and number 3 in the East region both lost in their conference tournaments, and so Barton sneaks right back up into hosting the regional for a second straight year. We get that started with a normal win against Queens because it didn't go to overtime and it didn't involve a 10, 15-point comeback. But we were rewarded with that with the semifinal against West Virginia State, which is the same old, same old. It was a hard-fought game, but with 4:58 left, Barton is trailing by 13 points. Stop me if you've heard this before.
Wait.
Barton trails by 13 with just under 5 minutes left. They trail by 8 with 2 minutes left on the clock. Just like the year prior, they dig in, and it's really hard defense that gets them back in the game. And they go on a 16-2 run to finish the game. Anthony Atkinson hit 2 game-winning free throws just before the buzzer, and then was there to defend against a potential game-tying basket at the buzzer. In the East Regional Final, they play Millersville from Pennsylvania, a player named Mark Friscone, who actually played AAU basketball with LeBron James.
That would be sick.
How dope is that? He's the critical player in this one, going on a personal 8-0 run when Barton was struggling and sending them to the Elite Eight for the second straight year. We're back in it, baby.
I am stressed right now. Like, this is ridiculous. What?
Right?
Why? Why? What?
Yeah, exactly. Just unbelievable things. Like things that if they happened twice in a season, you'd be like, wow, this team was really good. They're really good at comeback. But like 2 straight years and we're coming back from double digits over and over and over and over again. Like, what is happening?
This is weird. This is just weird.
Yes. It's time for the Elite Eight again. And this time, the first game is against Grand Valley State. The game has 17 lead changes in it. So if you weren't nervous and biting your nails before, 17 lead changes, the epitome of back and forth. Barton did lead by as many as 9 points in the game, but with just over a minute left, it's tied. Barton has the ball. They run the shot clock down, missed a jumper in the lane, but the Grand Valley State player that rebounded it stepped out of bounds. So with just over 30 seconds, it inbounds again, and they run the shot clock again, and they missed again. Grand Valley State came down and missed as well. And if you hadn't had enough overtimes yet, here is one more. Overtime game number 9. Anthony Atkinson was asked about this, and he said in the huddles before all these overtimes, he says, that's where the game is won, and we feel comfortable in overtime. You just don't want to panic or overreact. When they missed the shot at the buzzer, it gave us a second chance. A player that, if you've seen the YouTube video of this, gets naked on camera, Jeff Dalsay, said at one point that if you're placed in the same situation over and over and over again, it's because God is preparing you. So regardless of your religious beliefs, that's something that would strike you, that this continues to happen over and over and over and over. You've got to be prepared, right?
And not even that they're being placed in these situations over and over, but they are coming out of them good on the other side. Like they're not losing these overtime games. They haven't lost an overtime game yet. So something's happening in those huddles, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall on that come to Jesus meeting, because if this is what comes out of it, like that would have been some mean stuff. That would have been great.
I ain't seen many come to Jesus meetings work, but they sure found him in that one.
Yeah.
And it's true. By the time you're in the 8th overtime of the season, how are you nervous anymore? Like, it's just normal by that point.
You can't be, yeah.
In overtime, Grand Valley State's going to hit a shot with 4.2 seconds remaining to go, up 1. Barton called timeout. Not before they advanced the ball to half court. They called timeout immediately. Not, iffy coaching decision, but it's going to work out. Atkinson demanded the ball. I want the ball, and he gets it. 4.2 seconds left. He gets the ball, sprints down the court, and I'm not kidding when I tell you that he's dribbling around defenders on his way down the court, launches an NBA 3 at the buzzer, bottoms to win the game by 2.
Jeez.
It was the 9th overtime that they played. That's an NCAA record still. The 9th win is an NCAA record still in overtime games for all divisions. So a team for the record books already.
And nobody knows about it. Like, we can't even find local paper information who apparently gives a crap. Like, this is bananas.
The semifinal game is going to be against Cal State San Bernardino, obviously from California. This is going to be 2 up-tempo teams playing a game against one each other, which is always my favorite kind of basketball to watch. Let's run. Let's wear each other out. Let's see who's still ready at the end of the game. That's what I want to see. We get to the end of the game, and it's tied at 79 with 25 seconds left. Grand Valley State has the ball, and they drive for a layup, miss with 5 seconds left on the clock, rebounded by Anthony Atkinson. Same situation as the first round. He's got the ball on his side of the court with less than 5 to go. He goes the length of the floor. Again, this is important. Second game in a row, length of the floor in less than 5 seconds. And with 1.5 seconds left, he's fouled on an attempted layup at the basket. He makes the first free throw. He misses the second, not on purpose, but crucially, Brian Leggett is able to get a hand on it, tip it up, and the last 1.5 seconds expired. Atkinson was quoted after the game saying, "The first thing I did was look at the clock and assess the situation." He didn't panic. He didn't freak out. He just figured out how much was left, figured out what he needed to do. I saw their big man running down the floor. I knew I had the angle on him, so I just went up and got contact. Right? Just like that. He'd been in this situation before, figured out what he was going to do, and executed.
So many times. Like, Yeah, I mean, at that point, the first time you do anything is like a little scary because you don't know how it's going to come out. You haven't done it before, but that experience over and over and over and over and over again will eventually pay off as it has all season, but in a much more grand fashion.
In the finals, we get a conclusion that makes you think this was all on purpose. This we are living in a storybook or a simulation. The year prior, they had lost in overtime to Winona State before going on this miracle run of overtime games in the next season. And who do they face in the finals but the very same Winona State team? Winona State had won the national championship the year before, and they had won 57 straight games, at the time a D2 record. And so we get this game that's from a D2 perspective, it's wow, like this is what we predicted at the beginning of the year. Look at how these teams' destinies are weaved together. If this is a D1 situation, imagine the hype for this game. Winona State goes on fire to start the game. They shot 62.1% in the first half. Their shooting percentage in this game is still the 7th best in D2 championship history. Absolutely lights out from the field. They go up by 10 at the half. Coming out of the break, Barton goes on a 9-0 run to cut the lead to 1. The lead was pushed back up to 10 over time. With 8:56 left, we got a 10-point game. And another comeback, little mini comeback, gets the lead down to 5 points on an LJ Dunn dunk. I want to mention his name because of any basketball player I've seen, D2 or otherwise. Sweetest jump shot you'll ever see. Like just maximum RPMs on one of his shots. With 4:37 to play, it's a 5-point game and nobody scores for the next nearly 4 minutes.
Either team?
Neither team.
Nobody scored.
It's a 5-point game. When the YouTube video that exists picks up to show Zach Malvick shooting free throws with 45 seconds left, those are the first 2 baskets of the last 5 minutes, or the last 4:37.
Wow.
And then it goes just the way it happens on the YouTube video. Zach Malvick hits 2 free throws to put Winona up 7 points with 45 seconds to play. Unless you're Duke against Maryland or Tracy McGrady against the Spurs, that's game over. Just is. 7 points, 45 seconds.
7 points, 45 seconds is tough. And especially a team, remember, folks, they shot 62%.
Lights
You
out.
know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen is at the end of every basketball game when you're down, you got a foul, right? They're shooting 62% from the floor. Imagine what they should have shot from the free throw line. Free baskets.
They've got 70% free throw shooters at 4 of the positions, 70% plus. Some of them are in the 80s at 4 of the positions, but not all 5. That's going to come up in a minute. So Anthony Atkinson actually said after the game, during a timeout, we just came over, and the first thing we said was stay calm. We've been in this situation before. Everybody kept their heads. They, meaning Winona State, were over there celebrating while we were contemplating our next move. We got a basket, another basket, and then another basket, and the game was over. Like just putting it in the simplest terms. Now, if you go back and look at the video and look at their faces, they're not calm.
No.
But to have the wherewithal to know that this is what we need to do because we've done it before, that's where this comes in.
I remember of course, other than the ending, Atkinson misses a free throw, which I'm sure you're going to get to, and he feel like just the faith just left his body at that moment. You can tell, like he was so hurt. I can't even imagine what that felt like. But continue.
All right, so Winona is up 7 points with 45 seconds left. Atkinson's going to come down and make a layup with 39 seconds left. Then Malvick misses the front end of a 1-and-1. So Atkinson makes the basket, fouls Malvick, who is one of their not All-American, but really great players. He fouls Malvick, who misses the front end of the 1-on-1 with 34 seconds left. Atkinson fakes a drive, hits a pull-up jumper on the other end of the floor. 25 seconds left. The lead has already been cut from 7 down to 3. On the ensuing inbound, Winona may be exhibiting some of that overconfidence that Atkinson was talking about, recklessly inbounds the ball. Errol Frails, one of the Wilson natives that we mentioned early in the story, jumps in front of All-American Jonte Flowers to make the steal, immediately has the wherewithal for a no-look kind of behind-the-back pass under the basket to hit Anthony Atkinson, who hits a circus layup while being fouled. Like, he's three-quarters of the way down on the court, like flipping it up over his head to make the basket. It's a 1-point game, and Atkinson's got an and one. And the place in the arena is going crazy at this point. And this is the free throw that Atkinson misses. And it's that situation where you're like, man, like even the most ardent supporter would be like, man, well, you're like those guys that were behind us. You're like, I can see, yeah, this was a great comeback, and they just really played really hard, and you can't take away anything from them. But it was right. And then the universe just slaps you in the face and says, no, pull for them or sit down, right? And so by him missing the free throw, the rebound was gotten by Jonte Flowers, the one man on the floor who wasn't a good free throw shooter. For Flowers' credit, Barton had gotten into the double bonus, so he got 2 free throws, but he missed one. He only made 1 of 2, which made the lead a 2-point game. Atkinson drives the length of the floor, hits another circus reverse layup with 11 seconds left, and that's where we picked up with the audio that you heard at the beginning of the show. Malvick gets the inbound, is coming down the court, doesn't realize somebody's right behind him. Bobby Buffalo steals the ball at half court, gets it into the hands of Anthony Atkinson, who has 2.1 seconds left. He said after the game, I had the angle on the clock and saw I had 2.1 seconds. The other night, I made it the length of the court in 3.5. This time I was already at half court, so I knew I could make it. Ron Levency says that he, for a split second, there's 2 on the clock, he thought about calling timeout. But he looked and saw that Atkinson had looked up at the clock, and he made the decision not to call timeout.
He pulled Roy Williams and didn't call a timeout.
He didn't call the timeout. And the rest is history. He goes in, lets go of the ball right at the buzzer, sinks the layup, and there we go. The rest is history. Barton College, your 2007 national champion.
If you have not, if you've never heard of Barton, you've probably never seen this. But please go watch that, because like it's an amazing sequence. Their whole last 2 years of this story has been a roller coaster, up and down and overtime, and losing really bad, and then blowing somebody out by 25 and scoring 100 points. And then even just in this game alone, just this last 45 seconds, from 7 points to 1 point, and then he misses a freebie. You were down, like no shot, 45 seconds, 7 points, no shot. Immediately, like, you just got hit with a self-revive. Call of Duty fans, you just got hit with a self-revive. You are back on your feet, and he misses the freebie to tie the game. Everybody, the entire arena, like fans, players, coaches, Atkinson himself. Atkinson might have put his face in his hands, I think, because he was so distraught.
They were doing the post-mortem on commentary when he misses the free throw. The commentator Ian Eagle goes that they would not be here without Anthony Atkinson. Like, he's already getting into that mode of like, look at this great kid, this great comeback. Like, we're not taking that shot, doesn't hurt him. Like, this was still great. Like, he's already in that mode, to your point. Like, everybody is just kind of dejected when that happens.
Yeah, everybody was dead, and then they had life, and then it was immediately taken from them. Then it tied somehow. Like, somehow we end up tied. And of course, Winona's got the final shot. And then they don't, because of defense. Like, that's what kept them in all these late games, made the turnovers. made the quick scores, the shooting. It's that is exactly what won them all the games to get them to this point. Was that defense, that steal by Buffalo, and then the pass to Atkinson made that happened in almost every game that season, differently but similarly, and that's how they got there. What a
It's
crazy story!
it's truly, and I think I could live for 100 years and not have this experience. And granted, bias there. I was a student. I experienced it with my father, right? And it was a young point in my life. All those biases acknowledged, I still don't think in 100 years I could have that experience with a sports team again. I don't think it happens. I think that is a once in a lifetime thing that, I mean, just all the comebacks, all the overtimes, it always seems to work out. When people talk about destiny and things like that, this is what it feels like. It's what it looks like.
Yeah, to end that way after such an incredible 2 years, such a crazy 2 years. I would have loved to have been there. Like, I mean, obviously we do a sports podcast, so I'm all about sports. And if I were at school at the time, I was in high school, by the way. If I were at Barton at the time, I would have been at these games, and it would have been
Incredible.
crazy. I'm mad I wasn't there, but amazing thing.
Some last minute kind of wrap up stuff. Anthony Atkinson, Bobby Buffalo, and Brian Leggett were all conference CVAC in that season. Atkinson obviously was the East Region Player of the Year, the Elite Eight player of the tournament. Naturally, the finish. The finish was ranked second by NCAA Champion Magazine in the greatest storybook endings of all time. And in 2007 at the ESPY Awards, it didn't even get the honor it deserved. It finished second in the best finish category for 2007. The winner of that was the Dodgers. And granted, this was a good thing too, but not the same. The Dodgers hit 4 home runs back to back to back to back in a row to tie a game. And then hit another home run in the 10th to win it. Memorable moment for baseball fans, but not the same as this finish at all. Like
Man,
that's a tough win. To let
I'm
you know,
salty about
I looked it up. Like I was like, oh, something had to have happened. There had to have been a D1 game or a college football. There had to be something that was a big comeback. That's why it won. And then I saw that and I was like, like I didn't remember. I had to look up on YouTube to see what it was. Like
that was D1 and it was seen by the masses. 100% would have been first in the SP voting, would have been first in the championship magazine, but because no one cares about Division II basketball, like I didn't. Full disclosure, like a school an hour away from where I grew up and went to high school just won the basketball national championship. I didn't care, and I'm a sports fan, but it didn't mean anything to me because I wasn't there at the time. Now, very proud of it, and really hate that I missed it.
And it was a cynical thing for students at the time to be like, oh, we're talking about the national championship again after it happened. But it truly, the switchboard operators at Barton after this game happened, they'll tell you that they had to answer the phones all day, like just rang off the hook, whether it was somebody looking for an actual interview or it was somebody just being like, is this Barton? We saw you on TV and we just wanted to call and see what was going on here at Barton College. What's your story? Like just all the time, just people calling, like the awareness of a tiny little school in North Carolina boomed because of this. So it's something you do milk for everything it's worth, especially when it happens the way it did.
Oh, and they did it. They did it. They were. I mean, I don't know if they talk about it today, but they milked it for a little while. But with this sort of story, like nationally recognized, like best finish, storybook endings, like I can't say I blame them now.
I wish it was milked more because I wish the whole story was out there and not just the last 45 seconds, which you can find easily.
Well, now it is.
That's it.
Now it is. Look what we did.
We've done a service. We've done a service. Hopefully you enjoyed this. It was one of our longer episodes. I know that. So thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the story and the ride of those 2 seasons because they're important to us. I know they're important to me to get that story out there. Any last thoughts?
I'm still just amazed because I wasn't there, so I didn't know all the details. But just imagining this happening today and what would come of it, who would be talking about it, and maybe not if it happened in D2 today. If it happened in D1 or if it happened in professional sports, even like just imagine any other team going on a run like this to win a championship after losing it the way that they did before to the same team, beating the same team. It's actually, this is a movie script. This is like, this would be greatest sports movies of all time if this was a film. Unbelievable.
Somebody get Disney on the phone. Let's make this happen.
Hey, we might know someone.
That's true. Be on the lookout for that. Coming soon, maybe a crossover pod episode. Also be on the lookout for potentially some YouTube content other than our podcast. And as always, if you've got some ideas, some stories you want us to tell, something you know about that nobody else does, hit us up at our email, widcastpodcast, it's our initials, podcast@gmail.com, on Facebook, on Instagram, soon to be on Twitter. We're really expanding. We're glad you're here to expand with us. And that's what you don't know about the best Division II basketball story you never heard of. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of What You Don't Know About Sports. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please leave us a review, 5 stars only please, and hit that subscribe button wherever you listen. If you have a great sports story, we want to hear about it. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at WYDKAS Podcast, and on our YouTube channel at What You Don't Know About Sports Podcast. All episodes are written, recorded, and edited by us. Stay tuned for the next episode.